The gates do not creak. They simply open, as if they had been waiting for her specific wait, her specific grief. She does not know yet that she is the first mortal in 7 generations to come willingly to this threshold. She only knows that the road behind her has gone silent, and the road ahead smells of wet stone and something older, something that might once have been sunlight but has long since surrendered to the dark. Her feet stop at the edge where the living world ends and the underworld begins. The boundary is not a river, not a wall, not a gate. It is a feeling, a pressure in the chest, a slight thinning of the air, a sense that the self she brought here is no longer entirely hers. She is not afraid. The darkness is gentle. It holds no malice, only patience, the patience of stone that has learned to wait. Above she knows the world continues. Her village sleeps. Her family dreams. But here, in this narrow place between breath and silence, time moves differently. Here, the dead keep their own counsel. The path ahead descends. Not steeply, gently like a hill that has decided to become a valley. She can see nothing yet. Only the faint luminescence of something that might be moss, clinging to stones she cannot quite make out. She breathes in. The air tastes of iron and earth, and the faint sweetness of asphodel, though she could not name that flower if asked. She did not come here for rest. She came here for something she has carried so long it has become indistinguishable from bone, a wrong, a name she cannot speak, a truth the living world refused to hold. And now finally she is here. The gates close behind her without sound. And somewhere in the darkness ahead, something ancient stirs, not to greet her, not yet, but to notice, to measure, to decide whether her grief is worth the answering. The air shifts. Presence gathers, formless and vast. She thinks, I am not alone here. She is correct. If this story called to you, subscribe. New myths await every Friday night. The path descends further, and she realizes she has been walking longer than she thought. Time here is not a river but a lake, still, deep, and difficult to measure. She comes upon the water without warning. One moment, stone beneath her feet, darkness ahead. The next, the river Styx, black and glassy, stretching into a distance she cannot fathom. The far bank is invisible. There is only this shore, this stillness, this waiting. And the boat. He is already there. Charon. She knows him by the set of his shoulders, by the pole he holds like a weapon he has never needed to use. His face is hidden beneath a hood that seems woven from the same darkness as the water. He does not speak. He simply looks at her, through her, into the weight she carries. She reaches for the coin purse at her hip. The coins are there, as her mother promised they would be. But Charon shakes his head, once, slowly. No coin. Not because she has nothing to pay, because the payment here is not yet named. You carry something, he says. His voice is like stones shifting in deep water. The river will know what it is in time. The ferry fee is not coin. It is confession. She opens her mouth to ask what she must confess, but the question dissolves before it forms. She does not know yet. That is the nature of her crime. It exists before it is named. It has lived in her body for years, a pressure she learned to breathe around, a silence she learned to call home. Charon extends his hand, not for money, for permission. She gives it. The boat receives her like a yawl-lan, like something that remembers being safe. The water does not ripple as they cross, simply opens and closes and opens again. Behind them, on the shore, something watches. Not Charon. Not the river. Something older. Something that will not board this boat, but has no intention of letting her pass unobserved. She feels its gaze like a hand on her shoulder, not heavy, not cruel. Just present. And patient. The cord of the forgotten stretches before her like a held breath. She has read of this hall in texts older than her grandmother's grandmother could read. The poets called it the marble throne, the seat of final words, the place where the dead speak their last truth before the long forgetting. But no text prepared her for the silence here, not empty but full, occupied. As if every judgment ever rendered still echoes in these walls, waiting for the next voice to join the chorus. The ceiling rises beyond sight. She cranes her neck and sees only darkness, or perhaps it is not darkness at all. Perhaps it is the accumulated memory of all the skies that have been forgotten, folded into a single infinite point above her. The floor is white marble veined with gold, and it glows. Not with fire, not with light she can name. It glows with the soft persistence of moonlight remembered, of stars that died before anyone thought to count them. No sun has touched this place since before the Titans fell. The ancient Greeks knew this. They said the hall existed outside of Helios's reach, a pocket of time the sun god himself could not enter. What they did not know, what no living voice has ever sung, is that the hall remembers warmth. It holds it the way a stone holds the memory of fire, long after the flames are gone, long after anyone believes they were ever there. She is not alone in this court. Figures line the walls, not statues, not spirits, but something between. Witnesses. The forgotten dead. Those who once had names and then did not, and now wait in marble stillness for names again. At the far end the throne waits too, and on it something sits. Not yet visible. Not yet ready to be seen. But she knows, the way she has always known the weight of her own grief, that the Lord of this place has been waiting for her specifically. She feels the warmth of the floor through her sandals. The gold veins pulse faintly, like a heartbeat measured in centuries. And in that heartbeat, she hears a question she has carried her entire life, finally given a place to land. Why? She asks it now silently to the empty throne. The throne, she realizes, is not empty. It never was. You feel it too, don't you? The shift. The warmth. He rises. Not quickly, gods do not rush. He rises the way mountains rise, slowly, inevitably, with the certainty that the world will arrange itself around him, whether it wishes to or not. Hades, Lord of the dead, Lord of all that is hidden. His skin is the color of deep iron, not cold, but absent of warmth the way ancient things are absent. His eyes are not black but empty, 2 points of nothing that see everything, that hold the weight of every soul that crossed his threshold and found it wanting. His crown is bone white, carved with symbols older than writing. It sits on his head like something that grew there, something that was always meant to be. He descends from the throne. Each step leaves no mark on the marble, as if he exists slightly adjacent to the world she knows. He stops before her, close enough that she can see the faint silver veins in his iron skin. I know why you came, he says. I know the name you carry. I know the wound that name opened. His empty eyes hold hers. But what you seek is not mine to give. She does not flinch. Then whose? Hades smiles, not kind, not cruel. The smile of something that knows a truth she does not yet. Mine to name. Not mine to give. There are others here, older than the Titans. They were here before the gods. He turns, gestures toward the far corner where the darkness breathes. What you seek has been waiting for you. But they have a question first. And the answer you give will determine whether you leave this place at all. The darkness shifts. Something laughs within it, like wind through a shattered lyre, like grief that forgot how to weep. What is the question? Hades's empty eyes hold something like pity. You will know it when it is asked. The warmth holds her. The darkness is gentle. She is safe here. She realizes it slowly, the way dawn comes, not all at once, but in degrees of understanding that settle into her like stones dropping through still water. The name. The name she came here to speak, the name she has carried like a splinter in her chest, for so long she cannot remember when it wasn't there. She does not know it. Not truly. She knows the shape of it, the weight of it, the way it sits on her tongue like something borrowed. But she does not know the name itself. Her mother gave it to her. That much she remembers, the whisper of it in the dark of her childhood bedroom, the way her mother's lips moved close to her ear, the promise that she would understand when she was ready. She is not ready. She has never been ready. I need to tell you something. I stood where she stands once, in this same hall, before these same witnesses. I came with a name I thought I knew. I left with a name I wished I had never learned. She closes her eyes. The darkness behind her eyelids is different from the darkness of the hall, warmer, more personal, like the inside of a cupped palm. The witnesses watch. The forgotten dead lean forward in their marble stillness, and she understands now that they are not witnesses to judgment. They are witnesses to her. They are here to remember what happens next, in case no one else does. A name. She came here to speak a name. But speaking a name, she realizes, is not the same as knowing it. And the Erinyes, for that is what stirs in the corner, what laughed with a voice like shattered music, the Erinyes will know the difference. They will know if she speaks a name she does not truly hold. And if she does, the darkness shifts. Tisiphone's presence draws closer, and she feels the weight of serpent hair and ancient grief pressing against the edges of her awareness. You came to speak, the darkness whispers. But do you know what you carry? She does not answer. The silence is warm. The darkness is gentle. Above, the world continues. Somewhere a child laughs in a village she will never see again. Breathe. The story isn't going anywhere. Remember the mortal? 3 days she has walked through silence. Tonight she speaks at last. She opens her eyes. The hall is unchanged, the impossible ceiling, the golden veins pulsing slow as centuries, the marble witnesses frozen in their vigil. But she is changed. Something has shifted in the way she holds herself, in the way she breathes. She came here with a name she could not speak. She comes now with a question she does not yet know how to ask. But she will ask it. She must. That is why she is here, in this court beyond time, before the Erinyes who were old when the earth was young. The Greeks had a word for what she seeks, kleos. Glory, yes, but also memory. The name that survives the dying. The story that outlasts the storyteller. She did not come here for vengeance. That is what the living world thinks, what her family feared when she set out on this road. She came for something simpler, something harder. She came to know her own name. Not the word her mother whispered in the dark, the name beneath the name, the truth beneath the word. The thing her mother carried and could not speak, the weight that killed her slowly, over years of holding it, the secret that looked like love but felt like a hand pressed over a mouth. Tisiphone's laughter echoes through the hall. But it is not mocking now. It is expectant. The darkness presses close, warm as breath. She steps forward. The witnesses watch. Hades watches from his throne, empty eyes holding something that might be hope. She is ready. She is not ready. Both are true. The Erinyes wait, and the question waits with them, and somewhere in the space between her ribs, a name begins to stir, not to be spoken, not yet, but to be born. Tisiphone rises from the cracks in the floor. Not dramatically, there is no explosion of stone, no sudden violence. She simply is the way dawn is, gradually, inevitably, with a presence that fills the space before she fills it with form. She is beautiful. That is the first thing the mortal thinks, and it surprises her. She expected horror, expected the nightmare logic of nightmare beings. But Tisiphone is beautiful the way a storm is beautiful, the way a wound is beautiful after it has healed into scar tissue, and the pain has transmuted into something the body can carry. Her hair moves. Not like hair, not exactly. It moves like serpents the way rivers move, with a purpose that is not intention but flow. Her eyes are red, the red of old blood, the red of rust, the red of earth after rain. Her gown is the color of uni and night, and it whispers against the marble as she moves. The ancient Greeks believed the Erinyes were born from the blood of Uranus, scattered into the earth when his son Cronus castrated him with a sickle of stone. They believed the Erinyes were older than the Olympians, older than the Titans, older than the very concept of justice, that they were justice, before justice had a name. They were right about the age. They were wrong about the beauty. Tisiphone laughs, and the sound is exactly what the mortal thought it would be. Wind through a shattered lyre, grief that has forgotten how to weep, something broken that has learned to sing in its brokenness. You came, Tisiphone says. Her voice is layered, the voice of the wound, the voice of the weapon, the voice of the hand that held the weapon, and the hand that received it. All of them speak at once, and all of them are gentle. You came to speak a name. Tisiphone tilts her head, serpent hair rippling. But first, child, we have a question. The warmth holds her. The darkness is gentle. The Erinyes have not harmed her. Not yet. The question hangs in the air like smoke, like incense, like the breath before a vow. She is not afraid. She is curious. That, she will learn, is worse. The question comes, and it is not what she expected. Tisiphone does not ask who. She does not ask why. She does not ask what do you seek, or what do you offer, or any of the questions the mortal rehearsed on the long road here, in the silence between heartbeats, in the space between one step and the next. She asks, what are you willing to become? And before the mortal can answer, before she can open her mouth to say anything, Tisiphone raises one pale hand, pale the way bone is pale, the way the moon is pale when it watches from a great distance, and she draws it across the mortal's face. Not a blow. A caress. A closing. The mortal's eyes flutter closed, and in that darkness behind her eyelids, she sees her mother. Not a memory. Memories are thin, translucent, like looking through water at stones beneath. This is presence. This is. Her mother stands before her, not as she was at the end, wasted and whispering, but as she was before, young, strong, with the same dark eyes the mortal sees in her own reflection. You're not alone, her mother says. You never were. The weight lifts. Just enough. The weight does not leave. It cannot leave. It is part of her now. It has become indistinguishable from bone. But it lifts, and in the space it leaves, something else takes root. The ancient Greeks believed that the Erinyes could drive mortals mad with guilt. What they did not write, what the poets could not sing, was that the Erinyes could also unmake madness, could strip away the layers of self-blame the living wrap around their wounds, like bandages that fester. For one moment her mother's face appears, not as memory but as presence. You're not alone. You never were. And in that moment the weight lifts. Just enough. She opens her eyes. Tisiphone is watching her, red eyes soft with something the mortal cannot name. Now, Tisiphone whispers. Now you can answer. The witnesses stir. The hall breathes with golden light. She is not alone. She was never alone. Rest now. The story continues. Alecto and Megaera open their eyes. The underworld exhales. Not breath. Breath is too small a word for what moves through the hall. It is release. It is the slow unwinding of something that has been clenched for longer than the stars have had names. The marble floors warm beneath the mortal's feet. The golden veins pulse brighter, then brighter still, until she can see the individual threads of light woven through the stone. Tisiphone turns. Her serpent hair stills, not frozen but focused, watching her sisters wake. Alecto comes first. She rises from the eastern wall, her form more solid than Tisiphone's, more defined, a woman made of iron and old bronze, with eyes the color of verdigris and hair that moves like water moving backward through time. She is the Erinyes of wrath, of war, of the fury that lives in the chest before the sword is drawn. But she does not look wrathful now. She looks tired. She looks like something that has been holding a weight for so long it has forgotten what it felt like before the weight began. Megaera follows. She is the gentlest of the three. If the Erinyes can be called gentle, she deals in jealousy, in rivalry, in the small poisonings of love that fester. Her eyes are dark, almost human, and when she sees the mortal standing before her sisters, she smiles. It is not a kind smile, but it is a knowing one. The ancient Greeks believed the Erinyes could not be seen by mortal eyes without madness following. They believed their gaze alone could shatter the mind, could boil the blood, could reduce a man to screaming wreckage in moments. They were right about the power. They were wrong about the mercy. You carry your mother's grief, Megaera says. Her voice is soft, almost human. We know. We were there when she made the bargain. The mortal's heart stutters. She did not know her mother had made a bargain. She did not know the Erinyes had been watching her bloodline for generations. And in that moment of not knowing, something shifts in the hall. A warmth she did not expect, a welcome she did not earn. You feel it too, don't you? The shift, the warmth. She finally understands why Hades fears them. It is not power. The Lord of the Dead has power enough, has held his throne since before the first Olympian drew breath. It is not age. Hades is old, old enough to remember when the world was formed and the Titans were children. It is not even the Erinyes' ancient rights, the privileges granted by the first laws of the cosmos, before Zeus thought to claim the sky. It is sight. The Erinyes see what Hades cannot. They see into the living world, into the hearts of mortals who still draw breath, into the secret shames and silent cruelties that fester behind closed doors. They see the lie a man tells his wife, the theft a child commits against a neighbor, the poison a mother pours into her daughter's cup and calls it medicine. And they remember. Hades rules the dead. But the Erinyes rule what the dead leave behind, the wounds that do not heal with dying, the debts that survive the dying breath, the names that should be spoken but never are. The mortal watches as Hades sinks slightly in his throne. Not much. A god does not slump, does not bow. But there is a looseness to his posture now, a release of tension he has held for eons. He is not afraid of the Erinyes. He is respectful of them in the way that fire is respectful of water, aware that they are not enemies, but knowing that they are not friends. What would you do if you stood where she stands? The story continues. Take your time. She understands now that her mother came here too. Her mother stood in this hall before these same sisters. Her mother made a bargain, and the price was not paid, not fully, and now the debt has passed to daughter, to granddaughter, to to the line that will not end until someone comes to settle it. She is that someone. The warmth holds her. She is safe here. Megaera steps forward. Her dark eyes hold the mortals, and in them she sees something she did not expect. Recognition. Not the recognition of a hunter finding prey, something older. Something like kinship. Your mother came to us in desperation, Megaera says. She came to us with a wound she could not name, a truth she could not speak, and a bargain she was desperate to unmake. The mortal's throat tightens. She does not speak. She waits. We offered her what no god can offer, Megaera continues. We offered her sight, the truth of what was done to her. Not vengeance, vengeance is for the living. We offered her knowledge, understanding. The name of the wound that had been passed down through your line like an heirloom no one wanted to inherit. Tisiphone's serpent hair ripples with something like sorrow. But the truth has a price, Alecto says. Her voice is iron and bronze. The price is not coin. It is not blood. The price is memory. To give you the truth of your wound, we must take from you the name of your own beginning. The mortal does not understand. My name? Your true name, Megaera says. The one you were given before you were born. It is the name the gods know you by. And it is the price of knowing. She feels the warmth of the floor beneath her feet. The darkness is gentle. The Erinyes have not threatened her. They have offered her a choice. What happens if I refuse, she asks softly. Then the weight remains, Megaera says. And your line carries it, until someone comes. Someone who will pay the price. Or someone who will let it end. Let it end. The words settle into her like stones into still water. Remember the question, what are you willing to become less than you are? Tonight she has an answer. She stands in the hall of the forgotten, before the three who were old when the gods were young. She feels the weight of generations pressing against her spine. Her mother stood here. Her grandmother. The line stretches behind her like a shadow, each woman carrying the same unnamed grief, the same unspoken truth. She is not stronger. She is not smarter. But she is here. And she is asking. The Erinyes wait. They will wait the way stone waits for water, not in hope, not in fear, but in certainty that everything eventually wears down. She thinks of her mother. She thinks of the whisper in the dark, the name she was given before she could understand. She thinks of the wound that cannot heal, because it was never given a wound's proper name. She opens her mouth. The words come slowly. I am willing. Alecto's iron eyes widen. Tisiphone's serpent's hiss, not in warning, but in wonder. Megaera smiles. It's the smile of a mother watching a daughter take her first steps on a road the mother has already walked. Child, Megaera says softly, you do not know what you are agreeing to. I know, the mortal says. That is why I agree. The warmth holds her. The darkness is gentle. She is safe here. The Erinyes begin to speak, and their voices weave together like thread through cloth, like water through stone. The Erinyes speak, and the world unmakes. It is not violent, there is no cracking of stone, no tearing of flesh. It is gentle. Their voices weave together into something that is not language but truth, and as they speak, she feels herself beginning to come apart. Not her body, her name. The true name, the one her mother whispered before she was born, the one the gods spoke when they first dreamed her into being, begins to separate. Syllable by syllable, sound by sound, it lifts from her like mist rising from a lake at dawn. She feels it go. Each piece that leaves takes something with it, a memory, a fragment, a piece of the self she built, believing this name was its foundation. Half of her name goes to the Erinyes. She watches it dissolve into their serpent hair. They accept it like priests accepting a sacrifice, reverently, gratefully. The other half she releases to the wind. She does not know why. But it feels right. It feels like the only choice that was ever truly hers. In exchange, the Erinyes give her what her mother came for, what her grandmother came for, what every woman in her line came to this hall hoping to find. The truth. She sees it now, the wound at the center of her bloodline. She sees her mother standing where she stands. She sees her grandmother before that. And she sees what was done. Why? And by whom? The Erinyes watch her face, waiting for her reaction. She has none. The truth is not a wound. The truth is a scar, and scars are proof that healing happened. The warmth holds her. She is safe here. For one breath, Tisiphone's face softens. The mortal had not expected mercy, but there it is, small and reluctant, like the last flower before frost. The Erinyes do not gloat. They do not celebrate. They mourn with her. Megaera's dark eyes glisten. Alecto's iron shoulders bow slightly. And Tisiphone reaches out, serpent hair flowing around the mortal's face like a curtain, like a blessing, like the closing of a wound she did not know she had been carrying. Remember this, Tisiphone whispers. Remember that we could have chosen otherwise. And so can you. And for one moment, the archive feels like home. The ancient Greeks believed the Erinyes were pitiless, that they knew only vengeance, only fury, only the remorseless pursuit of those who broke oaths and wounded the innocent. They believed this because the Greeks feared the Erinyes, and it is easier to fear what you do not understand. What they did not write, what the poets could not sing, was that the Erinyes were mourners, that they wept for every wound they tended, that they carried the weight of every justice they enacted, and the weight never lightened, and it never ended. The mortal sees this now. She sees the exhaustion beneath their ancient fury. She sees the grief beneath their serpent smiles. She sees that they, too, were wronged once, before they became vengeance, before they forgot how to be anything else. She feels it, too. That small warmth. Hold on to it. The story isn't finished yet. The truth settles into her like breath into lungs, like water into parched earth. She does not need to act on it immediately. She does not need to decide anything tonight. The Erinyes have shown her the wound. They have not asked her to heal it. That work, if it comes, will be hers to choose. For now, she simply knows. And knowing, she discovers, is its own kind of rest. You feel it too, don't you? That small warmth. Hold on to it. The story isn't finished yet. A child's laughter drifts from somewhere far above. The sound is so unexpected, so impossibly normal, that for a moment the mortal forgets where she stands. She is not in the Hall of the Forgotten. She is not before the Erinyes. She is simply a woman who heard a child laugh, and the sound carries her back to a world she is beginning to forget she belongs to. The Erinyes do not react. They have heard this sound before. It reaches even here, through stone and silence, through the layers of existence that separate the living from the dead. Life continues. It always continues. Even in the underworld, even in the court of the forgotten, the living world finds ways to remind them that time still moves, that futures still unfold, that somewhere a child is laughing without knowing why the sound travels so far. Still here? Good. The best stories wait for you. Drop a symbol if you're drifting with me. The mortal breathes. The air tastes of iron and earth and something else now, something that might be the memory of sunlight, or might be the anticipation of it. She has been in this hall for what feels like days, but might be hours, or might be moments. Time moves differently here, and she has stopped trying to measure it. The Erinyes watch her. They are waiting, she realizes, for her to leave. Not because they wish her gone, but because she must. The living cannot stay in the underworld forever. The longer she remains, the more of herself she will leave behind. The truth you carry, Megaera says softly, will guide you. But it will not guide you here. You must return to the surface to understand what you have learned. She nods. She does not argue. She is tired, not exhausted, but tired the way the earth is tired, after holding seeds through a long winter. Ready for something to grow. The warmth holds her. The darkness is gentle. She is safe here. But soon, she will need to leave. And she is not sure she remembers how. She finds it. The gesture. The name that is not a word. It happens without warning, without intention. She reaches for something in the air before her, not to grasp, but to offer. Her hand moves in a pattern she has never learned, a shape that belongs to no language any living tongue has ever spoken. And the archive sings. Not the hall. Not the witnesses. The archive, the deep place beneath the underworld, where all truths are kept, where every wound ever inflicted is preserved like a flower pressed between pages. It hears her. It responds. And for the first time since she arrived in this place of stone and silence, she smiles. She discovers the Erinyes were wronged once too, before they became vengeance, before they forgot how to be anything else. She sees it now, as clearly as she saw her own bloodline's wound, the moment when Tisiphone was just a girl, when Alecto was just a woman with fury in her heart, when Megaera was just a lover betrayed. She sees what turned them into what they are. And she understands, in a way that goes deeper than knowing, that vengeance is not a destination. It is a door. And they walked through it, and they cannot walk back. She weeps for them. Not with them. She does not have enough left for shared grief. But she weeps nonetheless, and the Erinyes watch her weep, and something shifts in the space between them. Permission. Understanding. A recognition that wounds connect rather than divide. For the first time, she smiles. And the smile is not for her. It is for them. The warmth holds her. The darkness is gentle. She is safe here. The story waits with her. The justice that bleeds is not fire. The mortal expected fire. She expected lightning, destruction, the dramatic violence she had imagined in her weakest moments, the moments when the weight grew too heavy, and she dreamed of making someone pay. But the Erinyes do not deal in the dramatic. They deal in the true. They deal in memory. She watches as Megaera extends her hand toward the far wall, where the darkness has gathered into something almost solid, a shape, a presence, a man who has been dead for decades, but whose soul still lingers in the corners of the underworld, waiting for a judgment that never came. He was the one who wounded the mortal's line. He was the one who broke an oath so ancient it predated the gods. And he has been waiting here in the silence, unable to pass and unable to suffer, until now. Megaera does not speak. She simply opens him. The man's face contorts. Not in pain, in remembrance. Every memory he suppressed, every face he forgot, every wound he chose not to see, all of it floods back, and the mortal watches as he relives, in an instant, a lifetime of choices and their consequences. He weeps. The Erinyes watch him weep. And the mortal, she does not feel satisfaction. She does not feel triumph. She feels something quieter, something she does not have a name for yet. Something that might be peace, or might be the beginning of peace, or might simply be the knowledge that the weight has been acknowledged. She kneels at the altar, and the shadow of the god falls across her face, not blocking the light, but becoming it. In that moment she understands, justice was not submission. It was becoming. And becoming, she realizes, was its own kind of rest. You feel it too, don't you, the shift? The warmth. Remember the name she almost spoke? The gods are moving now. Not to help, to witness. And she is the only one who sees them clearly. She looks up. The ceiling, that impossible darkness she had assumed was empty, is no longer empty. Shapes move within it. Faces press against the nothing like hands against a fogged window. Eyes that are not eyes, that are instead the memory of eyes, watch the scene below with an intensity that makes the air feel thick. The Olympians. Not physically present, Hades would never permit that, and the Erinyes would not allow it regardless. But seen, witnessed. The gods who claim to be beyond justice, watching as the Erinyes administer it. She recognizes some of them. Athena, whose owl eyes peer from the darkness with something that might be respect. Ares, whose presence makes the serpent hair on Tisiphone's head rise and hiss. Artemis, watching with the soft gaze she usually reserves for the hunt, but this is not prey. This is judgment. The ancient Greeks believed the gods watched everything, that there was no act too small, no moment too private for divine observation. They believed this because they feared it. Because omniscience, they understood, is its own kind of tyranny. But the mortal does not feel tyranny now. She feels something else. Something she could not have named before tonight. Inclusion. The gods are not here to judge her. They are here to acknowledge her, to see her, to witness that she did what no one in her line has done in 7 generations. She faced the wound and she did not flinch. The warmth holds her. The darkness is gentle. She is safe here. But she can feel the edges of herself beginning to blur, not from exhaustion, from permission. The underworld is letting her go, and she is not sure she wants to leave. Hades speaks, and the words are not for the mortal. They are for himself. For the first time in eons, the Lord of the underworld offers a confession, not to the dead who wait for his judgment, not to the Olympians who watch from the darkness above, but to the 3 sisters who have always been beyond his command. I cannot enter your domain, he says. His voice is quiet. It does not echo. It simply is, present and unadorned, stripped of the resonance that makes God sound like thunder. The Erinyes turn to him. Tisiphone's serpent hair stills. Alecto's iron face softens almost imperceptibly, but the mortal sees it. Megaera's dark eyes hold something that might be pity, or might be understanding, or might be the memory of a time when she and Hades were not what they are now. Even the Lord of the Dead, who commands all who die, who holds the keys to every soul that passes through his realm, cannot enter the domain of the Erinyes without their permission. This is not a law written in stone. It is older than law. It is the agreement that existed before agreements had names, before the Titans divided the cosmos, before the gods claimed their thrones. The Greeks did not write this. The poets did not sing it. It is not in any text, any tablet, any fragment that has survived the fires of time, because some truths are too dangerous to write down. The mortals who know this truth truly know it, not as rumor, but as certainty, understand that there are powers beneath the powers, older than the gods, more permanent than the stones that hold up heaven. The warmth holds her. The darkness is gentle. She is safe here. And in the silence that follows Hades' confession, she feels something shift in the space between worlds, a recognition, an acknowledgement, a balance restored that she did not know had been disturbed. The story will wait. Your dreams won't. Let go when you're ready. I'll be here. She begins to fade. Not dramatically, there is no dissolving, no disintegration. She simply becomes less present, less there, the way a dream fades when morning light touches the edges of it. Her outline blurs, her shadow thins. The warmth she has carried through this journey grows distant, muffled, like a voice heard through water. She is not afraid. That surprises her. She expected fear, the fear of dissolution, of losing herself, of becoming less than she was. But the fading does not feel like loss. It feels like permission. Like the underworld is finally allowing her to leave, and she is allowing herself to go. The Erinyes watch her go. Megaera raises one hand, not a wave, not a farewell, a blessing. Or perhaps a promise. We will be here, the gesture says, when you need us again. Or when your daughter needs us. Or her daughter after that. The line does not end. But it can change. A child's laughter drifts from somewhere far above. Somewhere the living world continues. Somewhere the sun is rising or setting or holding steady in its arc. Somewhere there is a village with smoke rising from its chimneys and bread baking in its ovens, and people who will wake tomorrow without knowing that one of their own walked to the land of the dead and walked back again. She feels her feet leave the marble floor. She feels herself rising, not flying, not floating, just going, the way water goes downhill, the way breath goes out and then comes back in. The darkness is gentle. The warmth holds her, and she lets go. Later, or perhaps before, or perhaps in a time that does not exist at all, she wakes in a field of asphodel. The flowers are white. They sway without wind. She does not remember why she is here, or how she arrived, or what she was doing before she lay down in this endless meadow that stretches in every direction without horizon, without edge, without end. Time compression. The days she spent in the underworld collapse into moments, and the moments expand into something that feels like years. She does not know how long she has been here. She does not know how long she will stay. She sits up. Her body feels strange, lighter, somehow, as if something was taken from her that she did not know she was carrying. She touches her chest, her throat, the space behind her eyes where memories live. There is a shape there. A presence. Something she almost remembers. She does not try to remember. She simply sits in the asphodel field, and she breathes, and she waits for whatever comes next. The flowers sway. The light, there is light here, soft and diffused with no source she can name, shifts and settles. And somewhere in the distance, she hears a sound that might be water, or might be wind, or might be the breathing of the world itself. She is not afraid. The field is warm. The light is gentle. She is safe here. In her palm she finds a stone. She does not remember picking it up. But it is here now, warm against her skin, warm the way things are warm when they have been pressed against a heart for a very long time. The stone is small, smooth, carved with a symbol she almost recognizes. Not a letter, not a word, something older. Something that existed before language had names. Something the gods used to mark what they did not want to forget. She traces the carving with her fingertip. Someone made this. Someone who understood the weight of symbols, the cost of meaning. The groove is deep and deliberate, worn smooth by time or touch or both. The warmth pulses against her palm. Not a heartbeat, the memory of one. The echo of every hand that ever held this stone, every person who ever needed to carry something small and warm into the dark. She knows this stone. Not intellectually, not the way she knows her name or her village or the road that led her here. She knows it the way the body knows how to breathe, without thinking, without effort. The asphodel sways around her, and in its movement she hears her mother's voice. Not words. The shape of words. The rhythm of something loved spoken so many times it became indistinguishable from breath. She closes her fingers around the stone. The stone holds her warmth. Somewhere ahead, the living world waits. But here, in this between place, she is allowed to rest, to hold what she can hold, to let the rest go. She does not need to remember everything. She only needs to remember this, that the stone is warm, that the field is safe, that what she carries is enough. And the rest, the names, the wounds, the generations of grief, the rest can wait. The warmth holds her. She is safe here. They come to her in the asphodel field. Not summoned, not called, they simply arrive, the way the Erinyes have always arrived, without warning, without permission, with the inevitability of dawn. Tisiphone first, then Alecto, then Megaera. 3 sisters who were women once, who were wronged once, who became something else so they would never have to be wronged again. They are not monsters here. They are mothers. Tisiphone kneels beside her in the asphodel, serpent hair flowing now without menace, without threat. Alecto stands guard, not against enemies, but against the forgetting, the slow dissolution that waits for everything that enters this place. And Megaera, dark-eyed Megaera who deals in jealousy and rivalry, reaches out and takes the mortal's hand. The mortal expects cold. She expects the chill of the underworld, the absence of warmth she has come to associate with this place. But Megaera's hand is warm. Megaera's hand is the warmth she remembers from her own mother's touch, from childhood fevers soothed, from scraped knees kissed and made well. We came to say goodbye, Megaera said. Not because you are leaving, because we remember. The mortal does not understand. Remember what? That we were not always this, Tisiphone whispers. That we chose this. That every wound becomes a way of being, if you let it. But also that it does not have to be the only way. She kneels at the altar, and the shadow of the god falls across her face, not blocking the light, but becoming it. In that moment she understands, worship was not submission. It was becoming. And becoming, she realized, was its own kind of rest. You feel it too, don't you? The shift. The warmth. She walks toward a light that is not the sun, but feels like it. The asphodel field thins around her, the white flowers giving way to something she cannot name. A luminance that has no source, that simply exists, the way silence exists, the way peace exists, when you finally stop fighting it. Her feet find solid ground, then stone, then steps that rise gently upward. She does not look back. The Erinyes told her not to. Not because looking back would turn her to salt. That is an old story, an old fear, a warning dressed as myth. Looking back would simply remind her of what she is leaving, and what she is leaving does not need to be carried anymore. It needs to rest. The stone in her palm grows warmer. She holds it against her chest, over her heart, where her mother once whispered a name she will never speak again. The name is gone. She does not miss it. What remains is more valuable than any name. She remains. The light ahead grows stronger. She feels it on her skin, not warmth exactly, but the promise of warmth. The possibility of it. The memory of sunlight, held in the air like a question waiting for an answer. She thinks, I will forget this by morning. And she is not afraid. She thinks, the wound is still there. It always will be. And she is not afraid. She thinks, I am walking towards something, not away. And the light welcomes her. The warmth holds her. The darkness was gentle. She was safe here. Now she walks into something new. She returns. The village is the same. The same crooked street, the same smoke curling from chimneys, the same smell of bread and wood smoke, and the particular sweetness of late summer that never changes no matter how much the world does. She walks through it in the early hours before dawn, when the streets are empty, and the only sound is the creak of shutters in the wind. No one sees her. No one will remember she was gone. She climbs the stairs to her small room at the edge of the village, where a window looks out over the hills she has known her entire life. The bed is unmade. Her mother's book lies open on the table. The candle has burned to a stub. She sits. She breathes. She holds the stone in her palm and feels its warmth against her skin. And in the space between one breath and the next, she hears them. Not screaming. Not accusation. Not the fury that haunts the dreams of the guilty. The Erinyes whispers follow her, gentle now like lullabies. Like a song her mother almost remembered. Like the truth she now carries, settled into her bones, no longer a wound but a scar. Scarred over. Still there. No longer bleeding. She lies down. She closes her eyes. The warmth holds her. The mortal is whole. The Erinyes are at peace. And somewhere between the living world and the dead, a weight that has been carried for 7 generations finally, gently, sets itself down. You are still here. Still breathing. Still listening. That's enough. That's everything. The story is over. The sleep is not. Drift now. I'm here when you wake. If this story brought you peace tonight, like it. Save it for your next restless night. See you next story. Sweet dreams.